Ladies and gentlemen, the golden moment has arrived. Please join your hands together in welcoming the cricket legend, the one and only Brian Lara. Please. Okay. Okay, before I start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ambuj Bhalla, and I'm your host for this afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to Swinburne University of Technology here in the heart of city of Parramatta. It is an honor to have once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to spend an afternoon with the cricket legend Brian Lara. I would also like to extend a special welcome to our guest, City of Parramatta Lord Mayor Bob Dwyer, Swinburne University's Deputy Vice-Chancellor Professor Duncan Bentley, and Pro Vice-Chancellor Professor Monica Kennedy. Welcome to the event. Education Centre of Australia is a diverse education group that operates at the forefront of Australia's higher education sector. Over the past 2 decades, we have helped tens of thousands of students from all around the world transform their lives through English language courses, undergraduate pathways, postgraduate degrees, and targeted internships. As experts in the international student market, our success is underpinned by our outstanding of the international network, robust university pathways, and our unwavering commitment to our staff and students. ECA currently employs over 600 people, and our enrollments exceed 8,000 students. We work in partnership with quality university providers, and we operate several highly successful colleges. And as it is said, ECA is more than a great education. Our vision is to be a preeminent global education provider and employer of our choice. May I now request the Chief Executive Officer of ECA Group, Mr. Rupesh Singh, to share a few words and welcome our honorable guest for this afternoon. Mr. Rupesh Singh.
Thanks, Ambuj. So thank you to everyone for attending our Swinburne Open Day. I formally welcome Brian Lara for visiting, and he's going to give a great speech, so I'm not going to waste a lot of time. And I'd like to welcome Professor Duncan Bentley, our own Lord Mayor Bob Dwyer, Professor Monica Kennedy from Swinburne. So it's a great day for us, and we have just recently started this campus last year, and this is going to be our second intake. And this was planned very, very quickly because we heard Brian is in town. So we quickly started planning our open day. So what we do and why we do, I think is very important. Like most of you, I was myself an international student, and what we commit to you in Swinburne, Sydney, we will hold your hands until you graduate. We will understand you. We make sure you will get all the support you need when you enroll here. And I've gone through this experience, and many of my staff have gone through this experience. So we ensure that you are very successful. I'd just like to share one little story. So I've been watching Brian Lara, and I'm more like any other subcontinent person. I love cricket too. So I was watching Brian playing a test against Australia, and I was just trying to copy his hook shot. The only problem is, I thought I can master that in a couple of days. And then I had a cricket match next day, and I tried. This nose is an $18,000 nose. So I broke my nose. So what's really important is, you can't be Brian Lara, practicing 2 days of cricket. You need to work hard, you need to practice. So enroll in our course. For 2 years, we'll make sure you've got all these skills. So without taking too much time, I formally invite... Okay, sorry. So thank you so much for visiting, and thank you, Brian. Thank you, Lord Mayor and Professor Bentley. And I'll leave it to Ambuj. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rupesh. Now, before we move on, I would like to request the Chief Operating Officer of ECA Group, Mr. Gavin Dowling, to share some information about the group and its journey over the past 15 years to become one of the leading private education providers in Australia. Please welcome Mr. Gavin Dowling.
Thanks, Ambuj. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and thank you particularly to Brian Lara for joining us. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about why Swinburne University and how this all came about, how we ended up having a partnership with Swinburne University here in Parramatta in what is becoming the centre of Sydney. So why Swinburne itself? At Swinburne, students are at the centre of everything that we do. For over 100 years, Swinburne has been committed to high-quality teaching, opportunities to engage with industry leaders, and the courses are all designed with your future in mind. More than a century since Swinburne University was founded, the university continues to persevere in its commitment not only to provide but also to transform education through strong industry engagement, social inclusion, a desire to innovate, and above all, a determination to create positive change. Today, on a global scale, Swinburne University's engineering and technology faculties are in the top 200 globally. So it's a really impressive ranking for the university. Swinburne University in Sydney, Swinburne Sydney, focuses on three things. Education, number one, student experience, number two, and employability, number three. So in education, it's about a great, progressive, relevant education with top quality courses, academics, and qualifications that will springboard you into a great career. On student experience and support that is second to none, a ratio of teaching and non-teaching support staff that means that every student is a name, not a number. And number three, all importantly, it's about employability. With internships embedded into the course itself and a real focus of getting you the professional job, we're confident that Swinburne Sydney is the best place for serious and ambitious students. So we've selected, for now, just a small number of courses, and we've worked with Swinburne University, ECA and Swinburne University in this joint venture to select the right courses that are relevant to the industry needs. Where are the jobs of the future? And as we look towards next year and the year after that, we'll be adding other courses to scope which are all about giving students the best opportunity for the Australian workplace. So if you are a student, or if you've, as an agent representative for Swinburne Sydney, if you've got students who are serious and ambitious, and I think those are the important words, then we really believe that we've got a great offering for you. Thank you for taking the time, and enjoy the afternoon.
Thank you, Gavin, for sharing the wonderful journey of ECA as an institution that cares for the students. I'm sure there is a lot of learning for the students to take it away from today. It is now my great pleasure in introducing the Honourable Lord Mayor of Parramatta, Bob Dwyer. Lord Mayor Bob Dwyer, a representative for the North Rocks ward, was previously a councillor and a deputy Lord Mayor of the former Parramatta City Council, serving on the council from 1995 until 1999, during which term he was elected deputy Lord Mayor in 1999. Lord Mayor was re-elected a councillor in the Caroline Chisholm ward of the previous council in 2012, and has been an active Riverside Theatre board member since 2012, having previously been a board member from 1995 to 1999. Councillor Dwyer is a former member of the City of Parramatta's Councillor Representation Committee and Local Representation Advisory Committee from August 2016 until August 2017. Thank you for gracing this occasion, Lord Mayor. May I now invite you to share a few words with the gathering around?
Well, thank you. It's certainly a pleasure to be here today, seeing so many people in front of us coming to the mighty city of Parramatta. I just have to admit that I am also a former cricket player, nowhere near as good as Brian, of course, but I always found that being a batsman, if you get out first ball, you spend a lot of time doing nothing. And I'm sure if I ever had my time again, I'd either be a wicket keeper or a bowler. At least you keep involved. But as I said, I've watched Brian play at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and It was a day when he got 200, and I sat there all day thinking he must get out soon, he must get out soon. But he didn't, but he entertained Australia so well with his innings, as we all know. He had, I think I always told you had to play straight. You know, you play your base straight. But Brian always had this big swing in his loop. I don't know how he did it, but he was certainly a very entertaining player. So I think that the current generation are missing something really good. If they've never seen Brian Lara bat, I know they get excited about some of our modern day players, but Brian was exceptional, and I know it's a great pleasure to see him here in Parramatta today. Obviously, to begin, I wish to acknowledge the Parramattacall people of the Darug Nation as the traditional custodians of this land, and pay my respects to their ancient culture and their elders past and present. I also acknowledge the present Aboriginal and Torres Strait people who now live in our area. Also like to acknowledge our special guests, obviously Brian Lara. We're very pleased to see you here today, Brian. Professor Duncan Bentley, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Academic Swinburne, Sydney. Professor Monica Kennedy, Pro Vice-Chancellor, International at Swinburne, Sydney. Rupesh Singh, CEO of the Education Centre of Australia, and Gavin Dowling, COO of the Education Centre of Australia. It's a very great pleasure for me to welcome all of you to the City of Parramatta this morning for the Swinburne Sydney's Open Day. The City of Parramatta is a hub of innovation. We have 39 suburbs and villages bursting with brilliant ideas, creativity, cultures, flavours and much fun. Resident workers and visitors alike love Parramatta City and are proud to be part of our great increasing community. Currently, 250,000 people call City of Parramatta home. However, over 450,000 people are expected to live here in the next 20 years. More than half our residents, I'm sure most of these people would be well aware of that, half of our residents speak a language other than English at home. Almost 50% of our residents were born overseas, and they all come from over 100 countries around the globe. And we're very proud to have that many people from many countries here. It makes for a great city, and it increases our culture, and it's great to be part of that sort of cultural city we have. The people we now have in Parramatta are prosperous, modern, young, and increasingly educated. Parramatta is a diverse, safe city, and it's rich in culture. Our city is also a place to pursue and share knowledge, to learn and to grow, with leading schools, universities, and research institutions. Our education sector also continues to grow and is a vital part of the future of Parramatta and Western Sydney, with international students contributing enormously to the overall livability and success of our global city. As a city, we welcome the broad range of culture, the diversity and the history that international community, particularly overseas students, bring to Parramatta and the Greater Western Sydney. We all hope to always learn from, engage and embrace these important aspects of our community. Parramatta also offers a diverse range of experiences, and I certainly would encourage all overseas students here to discover the exciting opportunities that are available to you. From our cultural offerings such as the Riverside Theatre and Parramatta Artist Studios, we have many major events and city celebrations, or our city itself with its many restaurants which are growing all the time. We have beautiful parks and sporting events. I think everybody knows where Bank West Stadium is now. We have the wonderful Western Sydney Wanderers out there entertaining us all the time, and the Parramatta Eels. Also, for the potential students here today, I'd encourage you to find out more about the courses and the opportunities that are available in Parramatta. Also encourage you to contact the City of Parramatta Council or Study New South Wales, who can tell you more about the services which are available to you and the opportunities to get involved in life generally in our city. We are excited to see each student fulfil the potential they bring to Western Sydney and encourage you to fully engage in your education and our community, and also the many opportunities that are available to you here. The City of Parramatta hopes to see you join the proud and supportive community of students in our area, and I thank you for listening today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your warm words of welcome, Lord Mayor Dwyer. I live in Parramatta, so I can relate with the development that has happened over a period of time, and I'm quite pleased with that. Thank you for all that. Thanks for the contribution that you have made in that. We'll move on with the right time. I have to share a few words and for the most special guest for this afternoon. Captaining his country and setting world records with a bat all around the globe, Brian Lara is a true icon of the cricketing community. His story is truly inspirational, providing a message of hope and hard work that can overcome anything. Remarkably, it was 15 years ago when the Trinidad-born star plundered an individual world record with a test score of 400 not out against England at St. John's in Antigua. The feat still stands unmatched till this day. He is revered as one, if not the very best, standing out even among such greats who he played against, such as Sachin Tendulkar, Ricky Ponting, Steve Waugh, and Jack Callis. A proud West Indian who has accumulated 22,358 international runs from 430 matches in Test and One-Day internationals. Lara is incredibly modest when looking back at his own career and achievements, and believes today's talent has elevated the game to a whole new level. Cricket was a huge part of his childhood, but not the only sport that kept him busy. He has played a lot of football alongside his best friend Dwight Rock, who was also a keen cricketer at the same time. And it wasn't just football Lara was interested in either. He has even represented his country in table tennis. But there was little doubt cricket was the sport where he was progressing the most. As a teenager, Lara went on a school tour to India, where he enjoyed the friendships and the team environment. While he got the taste of life on tour, he was largely unprepared for what was awaiting him when he started his career with West Indies in 1990. Lara made his test debut against Pakistan in Lahore in 1990, but had to wait some time to play his next test, watching on as 12th man when Australia toured the West Indies in 1991. The great Viv Richards was the West Indian captain at the time, and Lara quickly got an idea of what he was like. Lara bided his time on the fringes of the West Indies team before locking down a regular spot during the 1992-93 tour of Australia. The New Year's Test in Sydney was a third in the series, and it was in this match that Lara produced the first of many memorable innings of his career. The Australian bowlers could only watch on as Lara smashed his way to 277, only being dismissed when he accidentally ran himself out. It was Lara's first Test century in Sydney, and the Sydney cricket ground has been a special place for him ever since. He even named his daughter after the city. Mr. Lara, I would humbly request you to share a few words with our gathering about your journey and the experiences that kept you motivated and allowed you to stay at the very pinnacle of the cricketing world for so long. What, after all, is the secret of your success, and what is your message for the youth of today? Mr. Lara.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Lord Mayor, members of the head table, students, potential students. I'm almost sure that maybe some parents are here as well. But I just want to say it's wonderful to be back in Sydney, and it's wonderful that you have a little taste of what I've done over the years through the MC. But I wanted to start by saying that I don't think that I was a bad student, actually. I remembered when I started playing cricket, I was the age of 3, 4, and every time I brought back my report from cricket to my dad and my mother, you know, it said D for discipline, D for dedication, F for future. When I brought home my academic report, it said the same thing. D, D, F. So I thought I was doing pretty well. And, you know, I had that momentum going to maybe get into Oxford University, one of those big English universities with those letters. Bam, cricket arrived and spoiled everything. There I was, a member of the West Indies cricket team from a very early age. But that's not a true story, I was just joking. But really and truly, I think I sense that there is some sort of similarity between my academic background and some of the students or potential students here at Swinburne. I remembered I lived in a village, so most of the times in the Caribbean, if you live in a village, they tend to send you to the school in the village and whatever is close by for transport reasons. And I went to a school, I passed a school called San Juan Secondary School, and it was a co-ed school, and after Form 1, they didn't play any cricket. And my dad wasn't happy about that. And he said that, I'm going to get you into college. And I was quite happy, you know, going to school with girls and, you know, I was having fun. But he got me into this college called Fatima College, and I remembered going there for the first year. I've already completed a year in San Juan Secondary, and I had to do an exam. And I failed the exam, so I had to repeat Form 1. And I spent the next sort of 5 years with some of the brightest students in Trinidad and Tobago. Obviously, my cricket skills got me through, but I eventually found out that I needed to cross this hurdle. As a young man, as a potential sportsman, I still felt that there was some reason for me to be academically inclined. And the school was in the big city. And why I say there are some similarities, because I feel that if I can safely say that, you know, majority of you may feel uncomfortable in a place like Sydney. I don't know. But I did feel uncomfortable in the big city of Port of Spain. I was taken in by, I had to travel very far, so I was taken in by a white family. And I spent sort of the next 5 years acclimatizing myself to make sure that I had some sort of academic background. Well, I did pretty well, but again, cricket came in the way, and I was quite happy to have a cricketing career. Now, fortunately for me, I have 2 degrees, and I don't want Swinburne to get any ideas at all. I have an honorary degree in law and an honorary degree in literature from Sheffield University and the University of the West Indies. So please, it's embarrassing when I get these things, when I don't deserve them. But I did come to Sydney as a little boy. I was 18 years old when I came to the North Sydney Oval to play for the West Indies under 19. And I fell in love with the place even back then. It did not even take my first century to even think about naming my daughter Sydney. I just felt that it was just the most amazing city. I believe that every student here has a wonderful opportunity in a great city. I mean, if you live here now or if you're visiting, I'm not sure, you know, how it goes down in university here, but it's just an amazing city to live in. I always love coming back to Sydney, and you have an opportunity provided by Swinburne University to develop your skills. And it took me my whole career, actually, to understand that what I really do like outside of cricket. And I'm actually pursuing psychology because I felt that throughout my career, I've seen a lot of players with natural cricketing ability, but not everybody with the mental strength that was needed to play the game and to be successful at the game. So actually that is something that I am fascinated with, and I'm hoping that I can make something of myself in the future because, as you all know, I still look pretty young, don't I? Yep. So, you know, the cricket doors were shut like 12, 13 years ago. So it's important that even though some of you here may have a career in sport, it is very important that you extend that and make sure that academically you pursue something, because that is what's going to take you beyond your sporting days. And I want to urge you to really do something about it. This is a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful campus. I understand there is one in Brisbane, in Victoria as well, and of course, India, which is another one of my favorite countries. But in closing, I think I must say that, yes, my 277 in Sydney has been a major, major part of my life. And I did name my daughter Sydney. And when I asked her mother to name her Sydney, she said, no problem. Thank God you did not make your first 100 in Lahore, Pakistan. So I'm hoping that I'll be back. I'm hoping that I can visit the other universities around the country and in India. I want to wish all the students on this open day all the very best. And congratulations for thinking about Swinburne. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry for that, Lara. I hope you're okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Lara, for giving all of us an opportunity to listen to the much thought-provoking lessons and spending your time to tell us about your journey to reach the greatest of success. Now, before we move on, and there is something interesting to begin with, but before that happens, I really request my guest, Professor Duncan Bentley, to speak to our students and share some information about Swinburne University of Technology and how we are different. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you so much indeed for that wonderful anecdote of your career. Lord Mayor of Parramatta, Councillor Bob Dwyer. When I came as a new migrant to Australia, I came to Parramatta and I settled in North Rocks because it had such a dynamic future ahead of it, a bit like all of you who are looking towards your futures. You won't all have the innate capability of a Brian Lara to be able to stun the world with what you're doing, but it's amazing how everybody here has an innate passion and a capability which will enable you to make an impact on the world. And that's what education is all about. That's what Swinburne is all about. In 1908, George Swinburne was, he was an entrepreneur. And he was in Melbourne, and he said, this economy is changing remarkably. It was 1908. It was the transition from the horse and cart to the internal combustion engine and the motor vehicle. And in the same way as they did not expect that they would have translated from having streets filled with horses to streets filled with vehicles. So we are at the cusp of change today where digital technology is changing everything we're doing. We were talking earlier about the cricket bat and how bats have changed. Golf has completely changed because of technology which is going into the making of bats, the making of golf clubs, and with our sport and exercise science areas, with the Internet of Things, we're able to train people while they're training in the sporting environment just through the sensors which are embedded in their clothing and their training gear, and that is changing the way that they react on the field to what they're doing. That also then translates into the retirement homes, where we're helping the elderly to recover in the same way as elite sports people need to train and recover, so the elderly can use that same technology to recover from falls and other things which transform their lives. Technology is going to transform every aspect of our lives, from smart cities, artificial intelligence, to gaming, and it's going to be a very exciting future. The courses and products and programs that we invest in at Swinburne are designed to help the entrepreneurs, the passionate, those of you who want to make an economic and social impact in your environment, to fulfill your passions and and to have multiple careers through your lives. If you embark on an education with Swinburne, that's what we're trying to help you to do. And the key thing is for you all to be able to fulfill your passions and accomplish great things, as Brian Lara has been sharing with us today. So good luck in your careers, and thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you, Professor Bentley. Thank you for your time. I'm now equally excited and planning to enroll in one of the programs. That excites me. Mr. Lara, we have amongst us in the audience a lot of enthusiastic students who want to ask you a couple of questions. And if I may have your permission, I can pass on the mic to them. Yeah. I have a first question from the student named Akshay. Akshay, what's your question?
That's why I was short and sweet. I knew the questions were coming.
I have a quick question that, like, what are the challenges you have faced in your journey when you started your cricket as a cricketer?
Yeah, it's a pretty good question. The challenges that I faced when I started my career. You know, first of all, you gotta appreciate that the West Indies cricket team is made up of small islands, and the small islands do nothing together but play cricket. I mean, Usain Bolt is from Jamaica, but he doesn't run for the West Indies, he runs for Jamaica. Every island has their individual politics, and if I need to go to Barbados or Jamaica as a Trinidadian, I need my passport. I can't get in the country just like that. So initially, that sort of a problem exists in the West Indies. Now, when you have a winning team, like we did back in the 70s and 80s, everybody is very, very happy. But I did remember my very first day that I got picked for the West Indies. I was like 19 years old, and my dad called my job. We didn't have cell phones then. I was working at a rum company, and he said, did you hear the team? Did you hear the team? I said, no. He said, you're in the team. So my boss gave me a case of rum, which I dropped for my dad, and I went home. But the next game that the West Indies was playing was in Trinidad, where I'm from. So I didn't have to travel to go anywhere. India was actually the team we were playing against. And I was told to get there for 9 a.m. for practice. And I got there at 8 a.m. with my brother, just early, nervous. And I saw the team bus arrive, and all my heroes came out the bus. Viv Richards, Sir Vivian Richards, Clive Lloyd, Gordon Greenidge, Desmond Hayes, all the great players. And I saw them walk in the dressing room. I told my brother, I think I should go say hi to my new teammates. And as I was walking towards the dressing room, my cricket bag came flying out the dressing room. And I said, shit, what did I do wrong? I picked it up, and as I walked back in the dressing room, where I sat, or where I placed my bag, is where Sir Vivian Richards placed his bag. So immediately I got a taste of what to expect. I spent the first 5 days of my international career in the bathroom, right? Dodging the guys when they came to the shower. But yes, it was tough because, you know, obviously the team that was playing at the time was an aging team. And I was, you know, like a youngster. So things were pretty tough. I was made to sit down for a couple of years on the bench. I played one match because someone got injured. And I carried a towel, I cleaned the boots, I did the laundry, whatever I had to do, because I felt that I was amongst the greatest players in the world. So for me, and a lot of people were clamoring for me to play, but for me it was the best apprenticeship period I've ever had. Throughout my career, I've had many other hurdles to battle with. Becoming, I suppose, a global star at a very early age, breaking world records. I was not ready for such things, so it kind of went trial and error. But I would never trade my career for any. And you know, I would say, okay, I might do a few things differently if I had another opportunity. But it's all down to experience. And in your life, you would face adversities, you would face hurdles. And I believe that, and cricket was, I was a talented cricketer. I mean, I think I could say that now at the age of 50. What I wasn't very talented as was academics. And I thought that I pushed myself very well. I remembered one student, one classmate of mine, and he lives in Melbourne, actually, from Trinidad and Tobago. He lives in Melbourne. And he played the same cricket I played. He played the same football. He played everything. And on Monday morning, he's at the front of the class with his hands up. I was at the back of the class hiding. And he gave me inspiration. His name is Robert Wickham. He works for a company called Salesforce here. He gave me the inspiration that if he can do that and sort of do all the recreation and still be at good at school, at least I can maybe not measure up to his standard, but I could be a decent student. So I was inspired by him, and I think today, being able to walk into offices and open doors is not because of just of my cricket ability, because I can handle myself as well. So I will urge everybody, if you are academically inclined, find a recreation. If you're sporting inclined, make sure and have some sort of academic background with you. Okay.
Is from Pinky.
Hi, Lara. I'm a big fan of you. I just wanted to ask one question. What was the turning point in your career that you believe catapulted to become an international star?
The turning point in my career, I think my career, I would put it in sort of like 3 phases, where as a teenager, you're growing up, that natural ability to play the game, you go out there and you express yourself. And I got to a level. And then at that level, I could not really handle it. And I sort of spiraled downwards for a few years, between like, say, 95 to 98. But the real watershed moment in my life, and I would urge everybody, it's not an academic answer, but I'd urge everybody to appreciate what I'm saying. The watershed moment in my life is when, after I broke the record in 1994-95, I got a lot of detractors. A lot of people had a dislike. I don't know why, they just had a dislike. So, if you're a reporter, you'd write this much if Brian is doing well, but you'd write this much if he's doing badly. And I remember being very distracted by those individuals and sort of carrying that burden of dislike between the companies, between me and other individuals. And I remember it was in 1998 when I was actually at my lowest. And I was about to be sacked as West Indies captain, and I walked up to a couple people that I've not spoken to in years, reporters and detractors, and I spoke to them. I engaged them and I spoke to them, and literally I felt like if I was once weighing 300 pounds and now I'm weighing 100 pounds, and actually that was the moment where I sort of forgive and forget and move on. And I believe that everybody should do that. You carry that sort of hatred and dislike for someone, it actually is destroying you. And I just maybe yesterday, I think on my family chat, I saw my brother posted, hatred, hating someone is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. All right? So I think from that time in 1988, 89, I felt that I just moved away from that sort of anger with other people, and I just sort of turned the corner, and my cricket just sort of spiraled upwards once again.
Can I request Sana to ask a question?
What is your relationship that you enjoy with other cricketing superstars in the likes of Sachin Tendulkar, Ricky Ponting, Steve Waugh, and of course Vivian Richards?
Yeah, well, Viv Richards was my captain when I first started, and he was a tough captain, but I felt that he was fair. So even though he was tough on me as a youngster, I felt that whatever he said in front of me was what he meant, which was great. So I learned a lot from him. He was a hero, so it doesn't matter how much he pushed me away, I was right there the next day, just wanting to learn from him, because for me, he's just the greatest batsman that I've ever seen, and still. Internationally, it was great to play cricket. One of the advantages of playing sport and the ability to travel is that you meet people, and you meet not just other cricketers, but you meet great people from around the world. Sachin Tendulkar has always been a friend. I think there's been an unfair comparison over the years because we actually never paid attention to it, and everybody wanted to know that rivalry between Brian and Sachin or Ricky. For me today, I can pick the phone up and call every single one of the individuals that she called. I wouldn't call Shane one after midnight, that's for sure. But I think the camaraderie and that we have today is simply because of we played competitively on the field, but off the field, we found time to spend with each other.
Thank you, Lara. Can I have Rojan to ask a question?
Good afternoon, everyone. Lara, sir, welcome to Sydney.
Thank you.
My question is, was it difficult for you to make balance between your studies and sporting aspirations?
Well, yes, it was. It was difficult for me, yes, because I was an out-and-out sports person. I played everything. I played football in football season, cricket, and as you know, other sports as well, tennis. And luckily for me, I made it professionally as a cricketer, right? And at the age of 37, I had to look to do something else. And as I mentioned to you, psychology is something that I'm interested in. So it was difficult, but it's not impossible. Because I just mentioned my good friend Robert Bickham, who played cricket. I mean, today, he always talk about, the partnership that we had when we had a 100-run partnership, and he made 5. But, and he will always talk about that sport inside of it. So I think it's if I had a little boy, which I do, I would encourage him to ensure that the academic part of it is a must if he's sporting. And as I said earlier on, if he's academically inclined, I would push him out on that field to play some sport, because I believe marrying both is very, very important.
And this is going to be the last question, Lara. I understand you're short of time. Can I have Manish to ask a question?
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
First of all, it's a great pleasure to be in front of you. And as you said, hard work is key to success. But I think along with hard work, I kind of believe in luck as well. So I have a question relating to it. I want to ask you that many cricketers have been known to be superstitious on the pitch. So do you have any routine or the superstitions on the pitch that the world is not aware of?
No. No, I don't actually. I don't. But you know what? My two records, 375 and 400. I don't know what got into me, but I wore the same shirt that I wore on the first day, on the second and the third. So you wouldn't want to smell that one. But but yeah, But adding to the early part of what you were saying in terms of luck, hard work and luck. There's always an element of luck, but if you work really hard on what you want to do, and I remember I read a Michael Jordan book, a Michael Jordan basketball player, and he said he worked so hard in practice that when he went out into the match, it was like cruise control. All right, and I sort of picked up the same way of doing things. I worked really hard in nets and did everything I could. So when I got out in the middle, I felt like if, I've already faced a major challenge. And then I would nick one, and the guy would drop it. And then I'll get 501. So sometimes luck does play a part.
Thank you.
That was quite an interesting session with the students. Thanks indeed for that. But can I also request for another 2-3 minutes for my VIP guest to ask you a few questions? Can I begin with-
It's not a problem. I don't mind answering questions. I went to Oxford University, and they took up all my time.
Of course not.
Why Oxford feel they can take up all my time and you can't? It's okay.
Can I request Professor Duncan Bentley to ask a question?
So, Brian, one of the things we see on the field is quite often great cricketers get to 100 and then they're out very quickly after that. You didn't do that. You just kept on going and going. I suppose translating that to leadership, what is it that you think is the essence of leadership that allows you to keep on going even when you've hit one of your first objectives and then you go on to the next and you maintain that momentum?
Well, just to let you know what happened on that day, I mean, before I came to Sydney, I never really scored a double hundred in any form of cricket. And I remembered getting to 100, and my coach at the time, Rohan Khanna, rain was falling in Sydney, and I came off the field, and all my fellow players were congratulating me. And Rohan, the coach, said, "Congrats, but set your stalls out." And I said to him, "What does that mean?" He said, "But your next innings begins at 0. And I went back out after the rain break, and, I got to 150, I got to 200, and then on the scoreboard, all these little numbers and names start coming down, and mine started go up. And I fell in love with scoring a lot of runs. Now, in terms of leadership, it's a simple thing where I believe that if you're in business or anything like that, you're going to have ups and downs. What do you want to do? You want to make the downs massive, or you want to make the ups massive? You want to make the ups massive. And I felt that every time that I was doing well at cricket, I actually worked harder. So some people may score 100 or a double hundred, and they will relax and take it easy and turn their cap backwards and do everything possible to enjoy it. I felt at that point in time that I needed to work even harder, because the opposition was actually going to think about me a little bit more. So if they spend 10 minutes in a meeting, they're going to spend 20 minutes. And I believe in leadership and in business, it's the same thing. You got to understand that if you're on top of the tree, somebody's going to try to stone you down. So it's important that you work even harder as a leader. And if you have your group doing it well and everybody's heading in the right direction, it is not time to relax. It is time to actually focus more to make sure that that period of time is a big period of time so you can enjoy it. So I had my ups and downs, but I made sure that I did very well when I was doing well.
Professor Monica Kennedy.
Thank you. I'm really interested in the inspiration that you must give to young sports people everywhere, and how that works for you, how you manage to turn that into something meaningful for the people who follow and admire you.
It's a good question. I think, obviously, in the West Indies, first of all, which is priority, you want the youngsters in the West Indies to be inspired. We are a very small community. And Trinidad and Tobago is 1.2 million, and the entire Caribbean is 5.5 million people. And if you're seen as a role model, is something that you have to take pretty serious, because the climate in the Caribbean is we have tourism, yes, but we have everything. We have crime, we have corruption in politics. So you're looked upon in terms of like a guy like Usain Bolt, and he has huge responsibilities. So I think that how I see it is that not every person could be a sports person, but everybody is talented in some way. And you have to find that talent as quickly as possible. And your formative years, your early years, is really and truly where you have to find it. Some people do mature later on in life. But I see my responsibilities to the youngsters around the world as you look up, and if you go to India with me, it's unbelievable when you have these kids and they look at you and they, some of them in tears. So it's really something that, it digs deep into your heart to know that you have that effect on people. So I'm someone that takes it very serious, and I travel around the world and sort of do things like this to see if I could inspire other people. And then you'd meet, a guy who is 60 or 70, and he's just wants to meet you, and he tells you about his story and how you inspired him over the years. So it's a really warm feeling. And being even here today and being asked, I mean, I didn't know exactly what to expect, but it's just nice to be in such an environment.
So Brian, actually I have two questions. So the first one is for our students. We are working very hard, ECA and Swinburne, to create future leaders. And as you know, there are many cricketers, but there's only one Brian Lara. So a piece of advice for our students, how to be really good what they do, number one. And the second one is how to play a really good hook shot, so I don't break my nose.
I think that, to pinpoint a few things that helped me. I came from a family of 11. I had 6 bigger brothers and 4 sisters, and I had to bat at number 10. You know, that was my number. I had to bat it, so I had to work my way up. But I felt that one of the things that really helped me is playing with kids that are slightly older than I am, that I was. And I know in present day they try to keep kids in the exact same age group. You know, I don't know the reason for it, but I felt that, you know, applying my skills against my bigger brothers in the streets or wherever, I think that played a major part in ensuring that, you know, I improved as a sports person. Another important thing is visualization. Now, as a 7, 8-year-old in the garage, right, in 1970-something, the West Indies team was Greenwich, Haynes, Richards, Lara, and I was only 7. I fit myself in the middle there, visualizing from a very early age that I am going to make it to the very top. And I feel that visualization is a very important key for anybody. And maybe one of the best innings I've ever played, I remember calling a friend of mine at 5 o'clock in the morning. We were playing Australia in Barbados. And he just came to watch the match, and he was partying. And when I called him, he came over. And I sat there, and I planned every single thing I'm going to do from 10 a.m. till we won that match. If McGrath was bowling, this is what I'm going to do. If Gillespie was bowling, this is what I'm going to do. And visualizing, it's not going to come out every single time. But if you put yourself in a positive frame of mind and not in a vulnerable state of mind, majority of the time, if you have the skill and determination to go along with it, it's going to come to fruition. So I believe visualization is a huge part. And the hook shot, I've been hit a few times, don't worry. Well, I still have the same nose, but I've been hit a few times. But yeah, you just got to pivot. You got to pick up the line and length very early. You most likely did not pick up the line and length. I didn't wear a helmet either. You didn't wear a helmet? That's a bad idea. Thank you very much. I promise not to hit this thing again. Thank you.
Okay, we are now towards the end of the event, and I would like to share a thought that comes to my mind with a quote from Aristotle. The mistake lies in the beginning. As the proverb says, well begun is half done. So an error at the beginning, though quite small, bears the same ratio to the errors in the other parts. In other words, if you do something well at the beginning, you are halfway to a successful completion. In cricket, it is a belief that to finish the game as a winner, you must have a good start at the beginning of the game to ensure you are in a strong position. The same applies in the life of a student. The stronger you lay a foundation, the easier it gets to successfully finish your studies. You may lack motivation for a certain topic because there are some things you may not understand. However, don't focus on what you can't do. Take a look at what you are capable of. Start off with what you can do, and you will learn more as you go. Mr. Lara, on behalf of everyone here today, I thank you for taking the time out. I will now request Rupesh to please felicitate Mr. Lara with the memento. I'm sorry for that. I'm sure my colleagues will help you with that. Thank you, Lord Mayor Bob Dwyer, Professor Monica Kennedy, and Professor Duncan Bentley for lending your valuable time to us and our students. I'm sure it has been a great learning experience for our students today as they begin a new chapter as students earning to succeed in their life. And last but not the least, thank you, students, for being our lovely audience today. Thank you so much.